Good evening, everybody. It's Dan again, here to talk to you about how to be a better you. And so tonight we're going to look at the 5 steps of a life transaction. This particular session joins with last session on mind. And we'll be reviewing mind as we go through this session. Welcome to Volume 1, Chapter 2. This chapter will describe how I integrate mind's eye with our organizational catalog and our life situation. As you can see, life base is being occupied by mind's eye. Mind's eye is our constant companion. Remember that mind's eye is a part of us that visualizes what we're seeing, what we're thinking, what we're recalling, and what we're projecting. So mind's eye is very important to us in this part of becoming a better you. So we're going to do all of this through learning and understanding the 5 steps of our life transaction. Now, if the transactions itself are in cartoon form, however, if you want a linear line, if you want a linear representation of how this works, I have one, and you can contact the library, and they'll be sure to give it to you. Or you can contact me, and I'll be sure to give it to you. Either one. But this one gives you the 5 steps, and it gives you a way to write them down so that you'll know how to make this work for you. So if you're going to take notes tonight, I suggest again that you take out a clean sheet of paper. With this sheet of paper, you can visualize the steps, then connect them with mind's catalog. Okay? So our first step is called life base. It looks like what mind's eye has been standing on since we started this session. Life base is where everybody stands. All 8.2 billion of us in the world stand on our own life base. And what do we do on our life base? Life base is where we think. Our thoughts trigger our feelings, and our feelings are going to influence our behaviors. Stop and think a minute. In relation to mind, when was the last time you evaluated something as not fair, bad, or wrong? What did you feel, and how did you act? That's the way it happens. If it's right, good, and fair, there's no problem. I'm going to do what I've always done, so are you. But if I'm judging it as wrong, bad, or unfair, I'm going to be having a loss, and the losses of my world expectations or my world rules that we talked about last time, a world order of beliefs, okay? Our shoulds and our should nots. So if my should or should not is violated by you or by me, if it's by you, I'm going to be mad, and I'm going to direct that mad towards you. That's the way it works. I want to blame you. Because you made me mad. You ever use that? You make me so mad. Okay. Maybe. Okay. On the other hand, if it's good, right, and fair, we don't often say, oh, you made me so good. You made me feel so good. We just feel good and go on our way. We do what we're accustomed to do. Okay? So it's very important that we understand that life base is where we stand and where mind-eye looks at the variables that are contained in our life situation. Our life situation is where we're looking at either a memory from the past or a projection of what might happen in the future or what's going on right now. So if we look at what's going on right now is I'm in the middle of talking and you're in the middle of listening. And hopefully what you're listening to is good, right, and fair, and you're pleased with having been looking at this video, okay? Then we'll move on to our third step, and that's entitled action, and that's the behavior we do after we've evaluated the situation, the variables in the situation, after we've judged them as good or bad, right or wrong, fair or unfair, and decided what action we'll take in order to get the results we want. So again, if we are judging our situation, as I'm judging it right now, as fair, good, and right, we're going to feel good, we're going to act in a way that will get us the results we've always gotten, which are positive. Positive results result in positive consequential rewards. So our fourth step is always called the result step until we change it, which we'll talk about in a minute. But our result step. So we think, we feel, we decide what to do. We do what we decide to do, our action, we get our results. Okay? From our results, we're going to get our consequential rewards. And this is the tricky part. Okay? I don't have a diagram, but if the results we got were evaluated by mind's eye as good, right, and fair, then we're going to go back, mind's eye is going to come back to life base where we're thinking, and it's going to go in and it's going to tell mind, to tell brain, to manufacture the neurons that will produce the feelings which we have judged in our results, and to activate the chemicals which will cause our muscles to move and our behavior to happen. Okay? That's all I know about neurology and chemistry. But that's what I know happens. I don't know the chemicals or diagnostic formulas for it. I just know it works because it works for me, and it works for most people I know. So we stand on life base, we look at life's situation, we judge the variables. If we judge them as right, good, and fair, we're going to move to third step. If we judge them as wrong, bad, and unfair, we're going to move to third step. Okay? That's the way it works. As we move to third step, we're going to take the actions in order to get the results we want, or the results we think we should have. Once we get those results, we go to our fifth step and we come back into mind's catalog. We judge the situation as okay, if it's right, good, and fair. All of our rules have been met. If, on the other hand, we judge the situation as bad, wrong, and unfair, then we know that our rules haven't been met. We have a loss of our equilibrium. Our balance is off. And so what we do is trigger the emotions, the first of which is hurt. But you have to know that hurt is an invisible emotion. Because when we get hurt, we have a loss. When we have that loss, we immediately get either angry, if it's somebody else that caused the loss, or we get shame if we caused our own loss. For instance, if Swan were to tell me that I need to stand over here in a sarcastic kind of voice, I'd probably get a little bit frustrated and say, who are you to tell me what to do? Okay? And we would be in a conflict. But Swan doesn't do that, and I'm glad. I'm really appreciative of that, because I know I move all around, and she's really good with the camera. So I like that. But since she's so really good, I don't get mad. I feel good. I know she's doing what she's supposed to do. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, and everything's fair and right. So I don't get mad. I have joy. We have 4 negative feelings. I call them negative feelings, and 1 positive. We have hurt, invisible, covered by anger or fear, and shame. Okay? The positive is joy. When things are going the way they should, we are content. We're comfortable. We have joy. In whatever form we call it. Might be happy, might be exhilarated, it might be euphoric, it could be just plain okay. All right? But that's joy. Anger, on the other hand, has many feelings. Anger has disappointment, it has resentment, it has frustration, it has resentment, did I say that? It has rage, it has hatred. All kinds of feelings go into the anger category. Okay? And usually that's the category we know the most. usually. Okay, so a resentment might be something like, oh, you do this all the time. I'm so resentful. Okay? Whatever this is, it might be something that is done almost daily, and you just resent it. Frustration would be more like, oh, I'm so frustrated with you, you're always doing the wrong thing. Why don't you hurry up and grow up? To my kids. Okay. Not, I didn't do that to my kids. Okay. So, shame has more of the guilt, embarrassment, my favorite, chagrin, kind of sheepish. Those are guilt. Or those are shames, or they fall under the category of guilt. Fear can be scared, can be afraid, can be frozen, can be paralyzing, can be all kinds of things. Frozen, paralyzing, those are actions. But fear is scared, afraid, apprehensive, anxious, those kinds of things. In fact, fear is the base root of anxiety. Okay? Loss is the base root of depression. Okay? When we have depression, a lot of depression or a lot of loss from our past that's unresolved, we get depressed and live in anxiety of our future that losses will happen again, the same losses over and over again. That's what's called pattern thinking, and that's what gets us in problems. Okay? And here's the rule. As I said in the beginning, all 8.5 billion of us currently residing on Earth, I have not checked this statistic lately, but the last time I checked, it was 8.5 billion. We stand on our own life basis. Okay? You're on your life base, your partner's on their life base, your kids are on their life base, the country's on, the president of the company is on his own life base. We're all on our own life base. Okay? No way that I think of to get out of that. So we think our own thoughts, feel our own feelings, and act on them by ourselves. So here we go with a description of how each step works with mind's organizational catalog. So life base is where we think and recognize our feelings in relation to the variables. Okay? So as I said, we look here, we stand here, mind's eye is back here, viewing out here, looking at the variables. Here I am in the library doing this seminar, that's a variable. I'm talking loud enough, which I usually don't, but I think I'm talking loud enough tonight. I'm being somewhat poised in relation to all the people who are here and looking at and having their attention focused on me, and it's all good. Okay? The variables I just mentioned, right? I'm here, I'm talking loud, I'm poised, people are watching, I'm okay with that, all right? So I'm thinking that I'm doing good, I'm recognizing the feeling of feeling good in relation to the life situation of this particular chapter, and I've dealt with, or I'm dealing with, all these variables in the here and now. Same as you do, every day. Other thing you need to know about life situation, I don't remember if I put this in the lecture or not, but you can go from one life situation to another in an instant. You can also go from one life situation to another in years. Okay? My example is, we start school at age, now I think it's 4 or 5, I'm not sure. But we start school early. I started at age 6. Okay? I was expected to go through grade school, then high school, then college. Okay? That was like 8, 12, 16 years of school of a goal that was set for me by other people. I didn't set it for myself, but I obtained it. I worked it. I did it, except I dropped out at my junior year of high school. Okay? I dropped out and I joined the Air Force. And I stayed 20 years in the Air Force, and while I was in the Air Force, I managed to get my GED, my general equivalent degree, and I managed to get a bachelor's degree. And when I retired from the Air Force, I got my master's degree. So I went through my school years more than the 16 years that were programmed for me, but I did it not in the time that I was supposed to. other things happen. I am okay with that. Okay? I will tell you about happy or joy. It took me 10 years to get my bachelor's degree. Okay? Because I was in the Air Force, and I was moving from base to base, school to school. And at some bases I could go to school, and some I couldn't. This was before online courses. And so I would move and move and move. And finally, I was stationed at a place where I was able to attend the college on campus. The Air Force gave me 6 months to complete my degree full time. And all I had to do was give them back 3 months for every 1 month I was in school. And I already had that plan, so it was no big deal. The big deal is that when I walked across that stage, at age 35, when they handed me my diploma, I was so euphoric, I couldn't even believe it. I could not ever remember having the instance of happiness that occurred at the moment I got my diploma. Here's the sad part. That euphoria lasted approximately 30 minutes. Okay? That euphoria tempered off as we left to go to the celebration dinner. By then, my wife, my children, my mother-in-law, all were in the crowd. We were going to go to the restaurant that we thought of as one of our favorites because it had a beehive in a plastic case inside the wall of the restaurant, and you could watch the bees swim around and do what they do. So we were going to go there and have our dinner, and when we got there, the restaurant had been closed. We did not know that. The euphoria dissipated, and then calm took back over, and we selected an alternate restaurant. I would love to be that euphoric again. It was almost mind-blowing. When I got my master's degree, it was great, but it wasn't euphoric. I had done it before. Does that make sense? When we do a thing that's euphoric, you have to do something else that's spectacular to get that feeling again. And so that's what happens, okay? Probably I didn't explain that last part real good, but you get up, you get down. The life situation is something we could be dealing with right now, or the time frame doesn't matter, what I just explained, okay? Right now, I came to this lecture, to this situation at 6:30. Okay? Now it's 7:28. In about 15 minutes, we'll be through and we'll wrap up, put things away, and we'll go home, and this situation will be over. When I go home, I will tell my wife how it was, and then I'll sit down and I'll watch Tales of Wells Fargo, and then I'll go to bed. That will be another life situation. Okay? They change, okay? As a life coach and counselor, my situations change almost hourly. I go from one life situation of another person's life situation, to another person's life situation, to another person's. My situation is to sit in my chair and be present for them. And their situation is to communicate with me so that I can communicate back and we can work through a resolution of whatever it is they're working on. Okay? So my life situation changes hourly but stays the same. Okay? Probably the same on your job. Okay? When I was in the Air Force, I would go to work for 8 hours as a cryptographer, and I would cryptograph things and I would decryptograph things. But each cryptograph was a different situation, but the work situation was the same for 8 hours. Okay? So these are things that we usually don't think of, but they definitely impact our emotional being. Okay? I might get a message that needed to be decrypted, and the right code wasn't immediately available. And I had to go away and look for the code to come back and decrypt the message. And if it was an urgent message and I didn't get it decrypted in time to give to the OSC, there was always some kind of negative result. Okay? So I was always in a hurry to get it decrypted. And normally, the decryption tools were available and handy. So there wasn't that many problems. But it was good. Then when I became an administrative specialist, my job changed from crypting, decrypting to typing and filing. That was much easier than crypting and decrypting, except when I had to start new files or when the Inspector General was coming to look at my files. But that was not really a big problem because I was able to do that. And while I was doing that, I learned how to fly a B-58 Hustler because I worked in the flight simulator branch. And my friends one night took me back to the flight simulator and sat me in the pilot seat, and I got to take off, and I got to fly around, and I got to land. And when I landed 500 feet underneath the runway. It was great. Okay? Great time. We broke the simulator. Not so great. Okay? The techs had to work on it all night in order to get it running for the pilots who were coming in to train the next day. But it was fun. We had fun. Okay? So the time frame doesn't matter. When I was in the Air Force, I was in there for 20 years and 1 month. It seemed like it would never end. As I told you, I enlisted at 17. I thought 37 would never come. Okay? When I look back on it now, from the time frame that I'm in right now, that 20 years was nothing. It was like that. Okay? And that's one of the things that we don't realize in our youth, is that our situations change, our life situations change as we complete one task and go to another. And as our life situation changes, our personality development changes too. Either we become more enlightened and more aware of what life is about and what we do to give ourselves purpose and meaning, or we stagnate and we just keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. And that's sometimes the way that our mind is, our mind and our thoughts and our feelings and our actions. We just get in a rut and we do the same thing over and over again. And it gets very boring. Okay? But we can do it in a matter of minutes, change our life situation. We can do it in a matter of years, changing our life situation. We have to really become aware of what we're doing, why we're doing it, what makes us do it, what's the enjoyment of it, and then how long we want to do it and how much we want to put into it. And that's purpose and meaning. So no matter no matter when we're thinking about whatever situation we're thinking about, we're still now. It's still here now. Okay? As I just brought up my past in the Air Force, I can remember being in the situation, the cryptography, the administrative specialist, and then I went in to become a psychiatric clinic technician, which was my most favorite job of all because that's what I've done for the last 50 years. But all of those memories that I have, when I share them with you, they're in the now. They're right here now. Okay? When I project out that you're going to view this video and that you're going to get something out of it that's going to enhance your life, that's going to make you begin to examine what you're doing so you can do it better. I'm in the now, but I'm projecting out into the future that I'm doing something worthwhile right now. I'm meeting my purpose. I'm having my meaning, and that's for me. My hope is that you're going to have your meaning, give your purpose, and let it be for you. Okay? So, we're always in the now, no matter when we are in our head. So what we need to know then is when we're standing on life base, looking at a life situation, mind's eye is going to fly out there to where the situation is, and is going to, and in referring to chapter 1, mind's eye is going to gather the variables up of the life situation and look at this and see me as stressed out. Okay? I'm all stressed out. And the variable stressing me out is tax time. Okay? When I was a young man, I had taxes very easy. I had a little card. It was an IBM card. I signed it. I gave my W-2 to them, and they sent it to the IRS, and I never worried about it. Never paid any money in, never got any money out. Didn't make enough. Okay? Had too many dependents. Okay? Now, it's a little different. Now I got to go through all kinds of forms in order to say, this is what it cost me, this is what I made, here's the balance, this is what I owe you, and pay it. Okay? But I'm happy to do that because I'm going to carry it back into my mind. I'm going to look at my world order beliefs and see if it fits within the parameter of my rules and find out that it does, because the 16th Amendment to the Constitution gives Congress the right to tax all citizens of the United States of America. I had to say that fast because I was running out of breath. So we all get taxed. Even those of us who don't make enough money to get taxed know that tax season comes, know that people are stressed because of it. So, but what we should do is within the rules of our world order beliefs. Okay? So once mind's eye brings that back in and reminds me that I should pay my taxes because it's my right as an American citizen to pay those taxes, I may curse them. Okay? I may be disgusted by them. I may be broke, but it's my right as an American citizen to pay those taxes. So I'm going to run it through my value beliefs, and I judge the tax variable as good, right, and fair because I get dividends for my taxes. For 20 years, it paid my salary. I helped pay my own salary with my taxes. For over 40 years, I have gotten an income from staying in the Air Force for 20 years. That income is not free. Okay, I paid a price for staying in the Air Force for 20 years. Everyone who stays in the service or goes into the service pays a price. And that price is the loss of their freedom to decide what they're going to do, when they're going to do it, and how they're going to do it. Because when you get orders, you go where those orders are, or you get a bad discharge. Right? So I judge that tax variable is good, right, and fair because of the amendment. And so the good, right, and fair tells me I can tell brain to tell body to feel good. That's the neurotransmitters that I talked about. So mind's eye is going to tell brain to transmit the neurons that will let me feel good about what I'm doing, feel satisfied, feel as if I'm fulfilling an obligation that is a right, fair, and good obligation, even if I don't like it. And then brain will manufacture chemicals that will take away my tension and allow me to relax and continue on and focus what I'm doing and finish it. Make sense? Okay. So mind's eye recognizes that doing the taxes is moral, ethical, legal, and societal and culturally right, and I feel positive worth about myself. Okay? I did what was right. When I do what is right, I feel good. It's the same thing when I drive on our highway from here to Redmond. Redmond is a town about 26 miles from here. The speed limit on this 2-lane highway is 55 miles an hour. I've been told by 3 different police officers, a state officer, a county, and a city, that if I do 65 or under, do 64, I'll be okay. So I have taken that as an authority's permission to drive more than 55. But I don't drive over 62. My goal is 62 miles an hour. That's a good speed for our highway, which has very few curves and usually is very able to see the distances we're going, to see out and look for danger and act in time to prevent the danger. Now, there are other people who seem to think that the highway is good for 80 or 90 miles an hour. Okay? They go by, they upset me, but I don't say anything except bye-bye. Okay? and hope that they don't take offense. So my values are fulfilled, and my soul gets the right action and feeling, which is my self-worth. That I feel good about driving 62 miles an hour. I feel good about paying my taxes. When I walk into a bank, even if I'm tempted to rob it, and I don't, I feel good because I did what I should do and didn't do what I shouldn't do. And when I walk out, maybe no one even recognizes that I've been tempted to rob the bank except me. And so I can say to myself, I didn't give in. All right. And that makes me feel good. And then it gives me a sense of positive worth. And then, lastly, mind's eye will tell soul to acknowledge the rightness of the right behavior for doing this, and my self-esteem will feel good about what I'm doing. Okay? Is this making sense? Okay? We think about our life situation and variables. We evaluate them as good or bad, right or wrong, fair or unfair. We have emotional responses. Our emotional responses will influence the actions we take. If we evaluate them as the situation as right, good, and fair, we'll have joy, we'll do what we always do. Our consequential rewards will be positive image, positive worth, positive esteem. We'll gain confidence in doing what we're supposed to do. If, on the other hand, we judge them as wrong, bad, and unfair, we're going to have one of the emotions of hurt, anger, fear, or guilt, shame. Okay? And then we'll act out in some way or another, which will then, mind's eye will then judge that behavior and say, oh, you shouldn't do that. You're violating your shoulds and should nots. You need to feel guilty. You need to feel ashamed. And if you do it often enough, you need to have the fear of doing it again. That's what mind's eye will give us, unless we become aware of mind's eye and learn how to direct it instead of letting it direct us. And we direct it by looking at life situation, evaluating the variables, choosing the action that's right before we take it, taking that action, getting the results we want, and rewarding ourselves with positive image, positive worth, and positive self-esteem. That's how we do that. And with self-esteem, feel good about what body is doing the action, which is a complete transaction for a life situation which fits the positive measurements of our value judgments. The value judgments are what gives us our worth, our image, and our esteem. Okay? So here's some questions. I'm just going to repeat them. You can look at them. But where do we stand on the 5 steps of a life transition? I don't know about you, but I stand on my life base. Okay? And my thought is all 8.2 billion of us stand on our life base. Okay? And where would we look to evaluate what we need to do? I'm going to call that my life situation. I'm evaluating this life situation right now as good because I get to talk, nobody interrupts me. That's wonderful, I love it. And after we've determined what to do, what step do we go to? We go to our action step. We do whatever it is we're going to do in relation to the evaluation we did on life situation. After we've acted, what step do we go to? And that's results. Did we get the results we wanted, or did we not? I can tell you from my own experience that before I learned how not to, when I blamed other people, oftentimes I did not get the result I wanted. What I got back was their anger. And what I got back from that was them blaming me for blaming them. And then it became a conflict of who blamed right. And then it became a conflict of who was going to give in. And it just went on and on and on. And it was never resolved. We just kind of let it go until the next time. Okay? And that's what happens. And then, after that action, went to the step of consequential rewards, and the consequential rewards were always anger at the beginning, shame at the end, fear for the next step. Okay? And so as we evaluate the results of our actions, where do we go? Consequential rewards. And so what are the two most important steps which gives us reinforcement of self-image, worth, and self-esteem? Action and results. Okay? What I do will determine the results I get. Okay? There's an old saying my grandma told me a long time ago, and she said, Daniel, she called me Daniel. Okay? Daniel, you can get more bees and honey with sugar than you'll ever get with vinegar. Okay? And I've remembered that for a long time. So if you have questions, please forward them to the library and they'll get them to me and I'll answer them. Or forward them to me, Dan Crowley, life coach, 150 Southwest 5th Street, Madras, Oregon, 97741. Or you can call me at 541-325-2118. You can go on my webpage and leave me a message and I'll get back to you. And that is rebuildingtrustcoach.com is my website, or my YouTube channel, which is Rebuilding Trust Coach. Okay? If you go to my YouTube channel, you'll get to see a lot more videos because I make one every Monday. Okay? Thank you. You have a great night and a glorifious forever.